into the fact where the victim is now the perpetrator and the perpetrator is now the victim. And that just drives me crazy. Bam! Good afternoon, y'all. And this is the last show that we'll be doing this year because we're taking off Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So we want to kind of wind things up, and it is my pleasure to have with us today my brother Doshon Farad. They're cracking up in the back over there because that's what they do. We're gonna talk about some things that's happened in the year. Obviously, you know that Nelson Mandela died, so we're going to be getting into Nelson Mandela. Doshon Farad, he covered the event at the Riverside Church, so I'll be asking him about that. We also want to talk about South Africa because everybody is talking about Mandela and nobody's talking about South Africa. But trust me, Martin didn't give up his life for a freaking holiday, and I know Malcolm didn't give up his life for a freaking stamp, and Nelson Mandela didn't give up all of his young years just so that people like Bibi Netanyahu could lie and say, I love him. This is not simply about a person. This is about what the person represented, the goals of the person, and the goals for South Africa and the world. So we're going to be talking about South Africa. We're also going to talk about some ridiculous crap that makes the news. But before I even start with the ridiculous crap, because we're going to start with the ridiculous, let me segue into my brother, Doshon Farad. I don't know how I get you on ridiculous, but, you know. My brother, how you doing?
I'm quite well.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's start off with ridiculous. Before we get to serious issues. It's harder to segue from serious to ridiculous than it is. George Zimmerman painted a picture of a flag, a blue flag, and put something about justice for all, something from the Constitution on it. And I'm not even going to tell you where he's selling it. You can look it up yourself, because you know I'm not whoring for George. But it's being auctioned, and it's already at $100,000. Apparently, George Zimmerman is like the crack of Jesus.
Wow. Well, it appears that Mr. Zimmerman's acquittal hasn't
that was
really
sweet, Mr. Zimmerman's acquittal.
It hasn't hurt him too well. But we have seen since the acquittal him revealing that it's further obvious that he has serious psychological problems, which we already knew ahead of time. But the action that he's taken, him being caught with guns, him being his girlfriend filing restraining order against him, his girlfriend's friends being concerned about her safety, and now this move here, it proves that despite that, you being a white man or someone resembling a white man who comes from an affluent family can do whatever you want to do and still get off scot-free.
Yeah, but that's not the result of the white man. That's the result of the white man's system.
That's why I said he comes from an affluent family. You know, he comes in his father.
It's not a result of the family being affluent. It's a result of the system itself being racially biased toward white people against people of color, especially black people. George Zimmerman's girlfriend filed a false report. There was no charges against her for that. They gave him back all of his weapons. As a matter of fact, there are artists who have been artists all their life who can't get together subway money, and they paint fine art, and nobody bids on their work. You know, it's very, very difficult for artists in America. You know, and he's selling his work of fart. Work of fart.
Nat can never play nice, brother. You can never play nice. Go ahead.
Solely on the fact that he killed a young black
He's paid.
man-child.
He's paid. You know, killing black folks is very profitable as well as reputable.
Correct. And it's not just a case of George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman couldn't do this by himself. His family couldn't do this by itself. If anything, this is a case of America being hopelessly lost in their own dysfunction. and that dysfunction is all through the judicial system. The police department have gone like atavistic. They're like,
oh yes, that's why after Jordan Davis was killed last year, I wrote an article titled, and I may have spoke about it the last time I was on your show, titled "The Killing of Jordan Davis." I asked the question, "Is it open season on Negroes?" And I gave the scenario asking the question if people remembered the old Looney Tunes episode when Bugs and Daffy were trying to convince Elmer Fudd, that it wasn't their season to be hunted. And they kept saying, duck season, rabbit season, duck season. So I asked the question, I said, well, no, I didn't ask the question. I said that in the 21st century, a black man can be inserted into that cartoon. Only difference is he'll be saying, no, it's duck season, rabbit season, bull season, any season but me, any season but black male season.
Right.
Because it's okay to kill black people.
Right.
It's okay for us to do it. It's okay for folks outside of our community to do it.
And it's apparently okay for stores to
harass us, to follow us around. And
after we spent thousands of dollars in their establishment on like Hulk Hogan belts or whatever the hell that boy was buying.
Right, but Wall Street bankers, they can go inside of Barney's or Macy's and no one follows them around.
Correct.
And they robbing the whole planet blind.
Correct. So much
bankrupting the country.
So much so that they're drawing up a customers, a shopper's bill of some strange.
Yes, customers' bill of rights, shoppers' bill of rights. Yes.
Yeah, as if this 2Gs shouldn't afford me some rights, for buying this crap that you had made in Haiti, for nothing.
For nothing. That's right.
But there was Joy Zimmerman, Megyn Kelly.
Oh yes, the one of the Fox News extraordinaires.
Correct. Apparently there was some hullabaloo,
last week when there was a discussion last week, a black woman had wrote an article on Slate.com criticizing the fact that she grew up with a white Santa Claus. Okay,
oh, yeah,
so she said how it affected her psychologically. So Megyn Kelly had addressed this with some other panelists, and so Megyn Kelly had said, well, and I'm paraphrasing that, well, Santa Claus, like Jesus, is undisputably white. And she was saying, of course, even though Santa Claus is a mythical figure, this, that, and the third, and then she pointed that out, but it actually caused a backlash last week. It caused a backlash. She actually responded to it and said that people were calling me racist because I said Santa Claus and Jesus were white. And it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm curious. She said Santa Claus was white, and she said Jesus. Did she ever say what color the devil was?
No, I don't think. No, they didn't get on that subject.
Okay, because there seems to be a lot more consensus about what color the devil is than either Jesus or Santa Claus. So I would have figured they would have at least, broached the subject.
No, they didn't touch on that or in her response. They didn't touch on that. She responded to it right after that.
So people out there, you should actually email Fox News and ask them what color the devil is, because it seems to be a worldwide consensus that the devil is white. It seems to be a little give and take as to whether or not Jesus is white, because the Bible described him as not white. And Santa, you can actually have him. I don't know what the big deal about Santa was, because my mother was a barmaid, so she never let me forget where the money was coming from. She was not going to let me attribute these presents that she had poured drinks for all night long to a fat white man.
Well, I'm going to say two things. One, Megyn Kelly said that it shouldn't make a difference, and I'm paraphrasing because she said, quote, Jesus, and first she said Santa was a mythical figure. Then she said that Jesus and she said Santa was a mythical figure. Then she said Santa and Jesus were both historical figures, so it shouldn't matter. Like, they're both...
An historical, mythical figure.
Right, it was like contradictory right after she said on the same show.
Like Hercules.
Yeah, like Hercules, saying that they were...
Like Superman.
Saying they were both
like
white.
Batman.
They're saying that they were both white, et cetera, et cetera. But the second thing is, Brother Nat, I would actually be more concerned about the sister who wrote the article in Slate.com,
some strange stuff too,
saying that she was psychologically damaged from growing up seeing a white Santa Claus. She didn't say white Jesus. Now, our people have been damaged from seeing a white Jesus for over 400 years, 500 years. But to say that you're damaged from seeing a white Santa Claus, that's what I was concerned with. She's a rep. I forgot her name. I believe it's Aisha something.
She was damaged, though.
Yes, she said it caused her damage growing up seeing this. So I'm more concerned with the sister who wrote the article on Slate.com.
She had a good life. She must have had a really good life because of all the things they put black folks through. I don't think Santa Claus crops up much.
No, and by the way,
know.
Santa Claus is out of a European tradition. Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to Jesus, okay, had he existed, fine, that's something else. I can understand that. That's something else. But for you to be tripping off of Santa Claus, I would have to disagree with my sister respectfully. I understand the angle that she's coming from, and you can find the article on slate.com.
Because there's no Santa Claus party that's running for anything. There's a rent too high party running for some stuff, but I don't know of any damaged by Santa Claus party running. So she's I don't know many black people who are damaged by Santa Claus.
No, we've been damaged by that white image of Jesus, I'll tell you that, but not by a white image of St. Nick or Kris Kringle.
Well, you've been damaged by Jesus.
No, no, not me, brother. I didn't grow up seeing a white Jesus in my home, brother. My mother wouldn't allow it.
Jesus, you know, Christmas was a time to, like, you know, it was like, you know, Sunday. You could get something to eat and some gifts and whatnot, so it was cool. And all the family was together, so you drank eggnog and stuff like that. I don't think anybody actually thought about a real white Jesus in my house. I know that being raised Catholic, and I thought they sold me out by putting me in Catholic school because everybody else was out partying and whatnot, and I was with like Sister Mary Death. But they had the whitest Jesus in the world. They had this calendar, and they had the white Jesus with the... You know, I saw that Jesus in Haiti. When I went to Haiti, I couldn't believe it. The whole church was jet black.
Yes,
and they had this really white Jesus.
Nat, you see that in Africa.
It's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life.
You'll see that in Africa. You go there, you know, I forgot what speaker it was, but he said that, this brother's a dark-skinned brother. He said, I was in Africa, and I saw people... black, jet blue, purple black.
Purple black,
so
right,
black, he said, I wish I was that black.
Right.
Talking about they dreaming of a white Christmas.
Right,
you know, and worshiping a white Jesus. So yeah, you know, white supremacy.
In Africa.
Yes, in Africa. So
You dreaming of snow in Africa.
yes, bro. So I believe what you said, Nat, you know, seeing a white Jesus
But
in Haiti.
it was just so strange.
You know, mess you up going to Africa.
I mean, they were so black that you couldn't get blacker. The next shade up was white. I mean, the next shade after what they were was white. You couldn't get blacker.
That's what I thought.
And there was this big picture of Jesus with the long flowing hair.
You see that in
the
Africa?
Brad Pitt Jesus,
You see
the
it-
Tom Cruise Jesus, or whatever.
You see that in Africa. You see that here. You know, you see it among our Caribbean brothers and sisters. You know, we've been hit by that hard. So I'm not
All right,
surprised by
all
that.
right. So we got the Zimmerman, and we got the white Jesus.
And Meek and Kelly, you know,
You know.
her ridiculousness. You know.
Well, I gotta meet Megan. I think she'd like me, you know, because you know, I could match her evil and raise her one. But
I'll leave that alone.
let's talk about Nelson Mandela. Let's interject some seriousness in this conversation as the year ends. You were at Riverside. What was the experience like at Riverside?
Well,
Some of the high points.
Well, last week, of course, I covered that, and Riverside Church was actually the last place that Madiba, Brother Mandela,
right,
had visited. That was the last time he had visited in the United States. Rather, was 2005, and that was the last place he visited in the United States. Okay, when he had spoke, it was a memorial service, and they had David Dinkins, Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Calvin Butts. They had one of Harry Belafonte's daughters, I don't recall which one at this time, Dr. Forbes, who was the pastor emeritus of Riverside, and they were honoring his life. And what I like about what I like about Dr. Forbes, when he had spoke, he wasn't doing what so many black speakers and black media people have been doing. He wasn't trying to hide Nelson Mandela's revolutionary side. Now, one thing I will say, Brother Nat, when Mandela had first passed nearly 2 weeks ago, I will say that I was thankful that you had many black public figures such as Dyson and others who were acknowledging Mandela's revolutionary side. And then you did have some that were attempting to obscure it, which I'm noticing now in the past several days since his passing. You are now seeing more black folk and others still trying to water him down. As Dr. Cornel West said, the Santa Clausification of Nelson Mandela. I'm starting to see that more and more as we enter post-Mandela. At Riverside Church, I did see some of that. I saw a lot of that, okay? I saw a lot of that. But when Reverend Forbes had got up there, he made sure that the audience remembered Mandela's revolutionary side, Dr. King's revolutionary side, Malcolm's revolutionary side. He explained how Mandela came in that same tradition, and not to try to obscure or to try to lighten his revolutionary legacy. You know how we always say that people in India, people have referred to Nelson Mandela as the Gandhi of South Africa. And we always say, well, Dr. King studied Gandhi, the nonviolence, but what people forget to mention, and this was the case of Mandela as well, Gandhi always had a violent alternative in case nonviolence did not work. You keep saying Mandela was about peace and forgiveness, but he was, at one time, Nelson Mandela had to take up arms to defend his countrymen.
So he was in jail for being peaceful.
No, he was. See, that's what we don't know. He wasn't in jail for being peaceful.
So he was charged. He was charged with.
They said with
pernicious forgiveness.
No, he was charged with treason.
Oh, okay.
He was charged with treason.
I'm just, you know.
He was charged with treason.
Yeah, they were damaged by his loving heart.
Right, damaged by his loving heart, but you wanted to take him out.
Now you mentioned Gandhi, and you mentioned worked and didn't work. That he was willing to take up arms if peace did not work. But nobody has mentioned South Africa. So how can you give testimony to a person and not mention that which he gave his entire life for?
Right. You're right.
What are the conditions in South Africa now?
Well, Nat, since first of all, and I've learned this since high school, and you'll speak to various activists who've been there, but you also speak to members or affiliates of the ideological rival of the African Nationalist Congress, okay, which is the Pan-Africanist Congress, PAC. Mm-hmm. See, we're not mentioning that. See, we speak about ANC. This ANC.
Well, I didn't speak of ANC or the Pan-African. I spoke about the people of South Africa.
What is what I'm saying, Nat?
So,
what is what I'm saying, Nat? The PAC are not like ANC. They don't want to share the resources. They want the resources back in the hands of black South Africans. Right now, the wealth is still in the hands of the Afrikaans. These are the white South Africans. No one is speaking about this. Although right now Africa has South Africa.
Okay, wait a minute, hold up.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to get too cerebral.
Understood.
For something very, very basic. What you're saying is white folks still got all the money.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Continue.
They still have all, definitely. White South Africans still run South Africa. So President Nelson Mandela, he didn't liberate South Africa. He only liberated, I should say, apartheid had switched forms. It's now economic apartheid.
It was always economic apartheid.
It was always economic.
Franz Rice walks around with a button that says economic racism.
Right, economic racism, but at the same time, it's just economic apartheid. What I'm saying is that before, you had us getting beat up in the streets, you had us being hosed down, et cetera, but right now, black South Africans are under economic apartheid specifically, more so than the actual physical apartheid. That's what I'm saying.
The only thing that I know of, there's a few things that happened. When Mandela came out, and they ended apartheid in, I think, 94.
90.
90.
When he got released, right. He was elected in 94. He was elected.
But wasn't that officially the end of apartheid?
Right. So actually, yeah, when he got elected, they say that. But remember, when he was released, that's when they were doing away with. That's when they started here. But 94. Right.
I mean, I won't quibble, but
Nat, you are right, because that was the first time that black South Africans could vote.
Correct.
So that
is the point. That is the point. Black South Africans were finally allowed to vote. The majority party was finally allowed to vote. We in America have been voting for quite some time. I'm not sure how that's worked out for us, but we'll get to South Africa. In terms of money, we should be loaded. If the vote gets you paid, then we should be paid in full. But black South Africans were allowed to vote for the first time in 1994. And I don't know whether it was as a concession or the power of the ANC was a very viable entity. So as a result of that, Mbeki was made a deputy president or something, akin to that, and so was the clerk. They were the two deputy presidents, and the ANC was a viable political force in South Africa.
Before becoming neutralized, yes.
Well, it didn't become neutralized. Mbeki succeeded Mandela
Yes.
as president. And one of the leading forces in the ANC was Zuma. If you remember, Zuma was booed.
He was booed.
Jacob Zuma, I think.
Jacob Zuma. He was booed.
Right, right. He was booed at the funeral. You know. And his regime promised retaliation for that booing.
But remember, there's a split currently in the ANC. That's why I said it was neutralized. There's actually a split
and
going
the
on.
split in the ANC literally left the ANC with 2/3 of their membership defecting, Zuma as president, Mbeki recalled, and the ANC going from a superpower to almost non-existent.
That's how they're seen.
Right. South Africa itself, the people of South Africa have gotten nothing out of the deal.
Right, the masses, and it's sad. If I may interject, Nat, right now, South Africa has the most black billionaires that it's had in its history, but that's only a select. The masses of the people are still poor, still suffering, and most of these black billionaires are not helping the masses.
Correct.
Which
if
is
anything, they are giving them, they are funding their poverty.
Which I said, which is one of the reasons why he was booed. Jacob Zuma was booed because a lot of those folks in the audience, these were the blue collar workers, the average brother and sister. They were not that's why they were booing Zuma, because he's a part of that. He's actually considered to be a part of that black elitist class that is economically oppressing black folks.
Right. And the two biggest problems that Mbeki ran into when he was the president was basically from the Western political left and large corporations, the corporate powers. He made two mistakes that they used against him and recalled him and put in Zuma, even though Zuma was standing charges for like gun running or something. One was that he wouldn't acknowledge that there was an AIDS crisis in South Africa, which got the left on his case. And he would not disavow Mugabe in Zimbabwe, which got the major corporations in his case.
Mbeki, you're speaking of, right?
Mbeki.
That's right.
So they recalled Mbeki. They installed Zuma, and basically South Africa is now going through economically, although it's exacerbated, and not only is it magnified, but it's exacerbated by the fact that nobody talks about this.
And
but it's basically the same conditions that we are going through in America. That a select group of people control all the wealth and the resources, that we have been corporatized, that the middle class is non-existent, even the white middle class, the policemen, the teachers, they're starving to death too, make a little too much money to get a mortgage.
Right. They're working poor.
They're the working poor, and a select group of people, a corporatocracy, I think that's the word for it, has control
a plutocracy. Somebody say plutocracy.
Right. And it's basically the exact same thing that we are going through here, because literally having the vote is one thing, and having someone to vote for is something else. And no matter who we vote for the corporations.
Well, I have a friend of mine who's actually done extensive work in South Africa with the PAC. He told me that since Mandela's passing, he said that South Africa in a few days may get a little ugly.
I'm sure.
He mentioned that for the very reasons that you spoke about. He said the masses are getting tired. He said in South Africa you actually still have people who get shot down by police during protests.
Correct.
He mentioned this to me. He's like I said, he's close with the PAC. He told me that He told me this months ago, as a matter of fact, because I was supposed to visit South Africa with a delegation organized by Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. Zimbabwe, South Africa, he was just prepping me for what to expect in South Africa.
Right. So you have a condition now, and even if you talk about Pan-Africanism, the moment you mention Africa, you have a strange catch-22. You have a continent with the richest countries on the planet, in terms of
the raw resource, natural resource, yes,
and the poorest people.
And
the 10 poorest countries in the world are all African countries.
Yes.
And
by design.
And nobody mentions that. Everybody talks about how I love Mandela, but nobody talks about what he gave his life for.
Oh yes, but I said this last week. I was on a radio program, and I said that what's taking place in South Africa in terms of the resources, the people being exploited for the resources, is actually a microcosm of what's taking place throughout the whole continent. Right now, what's taking place is a scramble for Africa, which has been taking place since the Roman times. Remember, Dr. Clark said that Africa was the breadbasket for Europe. And we see that taking place now. We've had several
There's a Latin phrase that translates into "there's always something new coming out of Africa."
Right. Which they got from the Romans.
Correct.
They got from the Romans. What I was saying is that, just to continue, is that we first saw more recently, the most recent example of a scramble for Africa before we were born would be the 1890. Originally, World War I was supposed to be fought in 1890 when the European superpowers, right after the Berlin Conference, 1885, 1886, they actually almost went to war over Africa, 1890. That was when World War I was supposed to be. And W.E.B. Du Bois spoke about that. And there's a book called The Scramble for Africa. And that's what we're witnessing now. Everyone has their hands in Africa, China, India, the Middle East. Everyone has their, but China right now, just to let you know, the Council of Foreign Relations have put out a booklet. It was about the U.S.-China relationship of Africa. And they wrote this book in 2006, this pamphlet, to prove or to disprove the notion that the U.S. and China were in a tug-of-war over Africa. Now, most analysts, most progressive analysts would disagree with that and say that, yes, the United States and China are in a tug-of-war over Africa for the resources, because Africa still has most of the world's raw, undeveloped land, raw resources, diamonds, gold, oil, plutonium, copper, etc., etc.
And in the coming weeks and months, we're going to bring Master Historian on Sacred Fortune, and I'm going to bring some people on, and we're going to get into, because we're always talking about the Ma'afa. We're always talking about the transatlantic slave trade, but we never talk about the sub-Saharan slave trade that lasted for decades longer than the transatlantic slave trade.
Oh, right, the Arab slave trade
in Africa.
The Arab slave trade began 500 to 600 years before the European slave trade, and as it's been stated, I believe Basil.
Yeah, did I say decade? I meant centuries.
No, I believe Basil Davison he wrote a book on the transatlantic slave trade. I believe it was him that said it in his book, the African slave trade. I believe he had stated that although, keep in mind, Arabs had begun it, but Europeans had institutionalized it. They perfected it. But nevertheless, the Arab slave trade was also deadly. It's been said in the book African Holocaust for Beginners that Europeans had learned how to treat us from what they saw the Arabs doing.
Correct. But it's all this imperialistic colonizer mindset. When you mention the 1890s, it's significant to note that this is the time when Europeans were pushing for the colonization of people of color's land and resources everywhere. As a matter of fact, Rudyard Kipling, the guy who wrote If You Can Keep Your Head When All About Your also wrote in 1899 White Man's Burden.
White Man's Burden, right.
Where he referred to captives, people of color, black people, and he was specifically talking about Panama, the incursion into Panama. But he referred to people of color as half devil and half child, and that it was the white man's burden
to rescue
them from their own
of their savagery,
from their own savagery.
Forget about what was going on in Europe at the time, though. You don't talk about that.
Correct.
But Europeans in power had they had to create the notion of other, say, of non-white races of people being inferior to justify exploiting the land. In other words, these people are inferior, and it's our duty as white Christians to rescue these people by enslaving and brutalizing them.
Right. Whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad.
That's correct.
So we in the United States, the more things change, the more they don't move a lick. In the United States, even though it's to a lesser degree, and we are singularly arrogant, we are probably the most European of European nations in our mindsets. And we really don't even acknowledge other people and the plight of other people to our own detriment. One of the phenomenons you have now, and I mentioned the George Zimmerman painting, is the fact that white people are so bloodthirsty that they are literally putting their own heads in the economic guillotine, trying to spite my pretty butt. They think that if they think that I'm some sort of welfare beggar, never mind the fact that all of the states the majority of the southern states in America are all welfare states: Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama. They're all welfare states. If you instituted a rule that you couldn't get back more money in government programs than you pay in taxes, they'd all go belly up and die tomorrow. But they really think that they are spiting us, that they have to take back and I don't know where they get this their country stuff from.
Yeah, the Tea Party is definitely.
Right. But they don't even have to be here a hot minute. They don't have to be here long enough to cast off their European accents before they start thinking of people of color as some sort of second-class citizenry that deserve nothing. It's a strange phenomenon. You got a lot of white people, strange white people on your Facebook friends. Maybe you can explain some of them, because some of the things that come out their mouth is unique.
Well,
we got a call. Let's take the call. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Hey, Nat, once again, brother, man. I was kind of feeling some kind of way about you in that rerun last week and whatnot, but I must admit you and the good brother and whatnot made up for it and whatnot. So it's all redemption and whatnot. Still loving that.
Thank you,
I was listening to y'all brothers talk about some of the injustices that was going on here, and I was surprised that y'all didn't mention this kid that this drunk driver that killed the 4 people and whatnot. And he got off with rehab.
Oh, brother, thank you.
Affluenza and whatnot.
You know, brother,
because he was affluent and whatnot, and he had all his money. His family had all his money and stuff.
His upbringing.
Compared to some brother that ended up having a fight and he struck somebody and ended up killing them because they hit the floor. He ended up getting 10 years. It's like there's a lot of things going on here that. It's just gotten so blatant with the racism and injustice. It amazes me that black folks is just every time you mention it to somebody else, they always want to talk about that was the past. But it's still happening.
Right. It's madness.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, this white supremacy thing and whatnot, is so diabolical. It just amazes me. It's basically like somebody smacked you in the face and you just ask for another one and say everything is cool and whatnot. You wonder why your mouth is busted. It's just it's weird with the state in which we're in. Somebody got on Facebook, you was mentioning Facebook. I've been talking to these brothers from Australia and whatnot, and they're talking about for 225 years, these exiles have came over to Australia, and there's a genocide happening in Australia with the Aborigines and
Right.
whatnot. But everybody looks at Australia and they think of Crocodile Dundee and whatnot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But them people is like getting their behinds towed up. And even before Mandela died, they had a special on current TV that Al Gore used to own, where they had a documentary
Talk about
of how
current.
people are going through the squatters, the little shanty towns and whatnot, and they're marking them for demolition, but they're not putting the people anywhere else though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, wow, when are we going? Like, when is enough is enough?
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know, like, I'm looking at de Blasio, he coming in, everybody, oh, you're liberal, there's going to be all these changes. Man, I'm over it now, man, you know, after Obama and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm over
you know.
Obama and
Yeah,
de
you know,
Blasio
I'm
and all
over
of
it
them.
now, man, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, like this, all right, we tried the ballot, now it's the other alternative, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Got
right.
to face it, man.
Right. Right.
Y'all brothers have a good one.
Oh, thank
You
you,
too,
brother.
brother. Thanks for calling.
I think one of the things we face is the fact that, first of all, this is a war, and we don't know it's a war because it's very, very, very subtle.
Very subtle. It's not like the 60s where it was
correct,
up in your
correct,
face.
correct,
Police
correct.
kicking your door down, feds kicking your door down.
One of the most effective ways to wage this war, and this war is for your mind.
I was going to say, it was a war of information.
Right. Is the way we phrase things. And I thought it's very interesting, and nobody has made a point of it. The movie 12 Years a Slave. Well, they didn't call it 12 years of enslavement. They called it 12 years a slave. Now, enslavement is a value judgment about the condition, but slave is a value judgment about the person. And the moment you say 12 years a slave, you have placed the person in a place where you judge his behavior, his acceptance of this oppressive system. You know, certainly Spartacus was a slave. Yeah. They never portrayed him as docile and compliant to his circumstances. William Wallace, they never portrayed him as docile and compliant to his circumstance.
Or even Moses.
Or
Even
Moses,
you know,
right. But black people, but in order to control the body of a person, you have to first control their mind.
And
How
I-
do you control a pit bull?
And just to interject on that, when I say Moses, I should say as he was portrayed by Carlton Heston.
Right,
He
correct,
was portrayed as docile.
correct.
But what I wanted to say, you raised a good point about how
I
word.
think we got a call. Let's take the call. Don't forget what you're going to say, because I know it's like poignant. Caller, if you're there, come on through.
Hello.
Hi, caller. Good afternoon.
Hi, this is Tom Syracuse from the Green Park.
Hey, Tom, how you doing,
Fine,
man?
how are you? Nice to see you again.
Good to hear from you.
The previous caller said that he's had enough. When are people going to have enough? They keep voting for people that turn around and do things which are against the interest, their very interests. A good example, I think, would be de Blasio, after running on an anti-stop and frisk policy, and that was a major aspect of his campaign, turns around and appoints,
Bill
if I'm
Bratton.
not mistaken, the
Bratton.
originator of stop and frisk.
Right.
So, of course, a lot of people say this. Well, we really don't have much of a choice. The Democrats are the less of the two evils. Although Glenn Ford of the Black Agenda, I think, put it very well. When he
Yeah, I
said,
write
I'm
for,
not
it's not
I write for
that,
Black Agenda too
Obama
sometimes.
is the less of the two evils. He's the more effective of the two evils. Well, in any case, what do you think about? I mean, how do you get out of this this two-party box, this conundrum? Well, we're stuck with them. There, if we don't vote for the Democrats, then a greater evil will get in. How do you get over this?
That's an excellent question. I think that the two-party system. First of all, I do not think you can combat programming with logic. I think you can only combat programming with more effective programming. And I think one of the things that beats us back is that we try to combat effective mind control with common sense logic. You can't win. You can't win, you know, because they have a mind control machine that just operates 24/7. You know, but your thoughts on that? How do you get people to act in their own best interest, to see what is coming at them, to see either the efficacy or the futility of the two-party system as it exists now?
Nat, as the old folks have always said, you can lead a horse to water. The only thing you can do is just give information, and if the people refuse to take it, you know, your hands are clean. Their blood isn't on your hands. If folks don't want to...
but that's not how they operate.
Okay, but...
They don't give you information and let it go.
Okay, but Nat, those of us who know better, that's our job, to give information to the masses. And if certain people in the masses don't want to take the information, all you can do is say, I've done my job. You can't force someone, Nat, to see things how you want them to see it. You understand
But
where I come from?
they do it. As a matter of fact, there was Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays. He was Sigmund Freud's nephew or something. He's actually like the inventor of the focus group. He and the inventor of marketing. He is the Jesus Christ of madmen. After the war, they were selling cake mix.
World War I, after World War I, or World War II?
World War II. They were selling cake mix, and women were still hustling hard and whatnot in the kitchen and whatnot, you know. So this cake mix where you just added water, they loved it. But a strange thing happened after World War II. They came out with this instant cake mix. And they introduced it to housewives. They did focus groups about whether or not housewives would be interested in a cake mix where all you had to do was add water and bake it and you got a cake. And they all say, yeah, we're going to love it, we love it, we love it. Look, great idea, great idea. And a funny thing happened. Nobody bought the damn thing. None of the housewives would buy a cake mix where all you did was add water to the mix, bake it, and get a cake. So they did another focus group to find out what it was. And the second focus group said that the housewives, there was so much modernization coming into the home that the housewives were beginning to feel irrelevant and that they were not contributing to the household and what they did, so they felt they were losing their sense of worth. So they introduced one thing to the ingredient. On the box it said, add 1 egg. They added 1 egg, immediately regained their self-worth, and the cake mix sold like hotcakes. You cannot fight programming with logic. And they know that. That is why they spend so much time in advertising. That is why they advertise. That's why there's so many pop-ups on the computer, so many pop-ups on Facebook, so many commercials on television, so many signs in the subways. This is programming, and all the logical, and it was Edward Bernays who definitively said, man is not ruled by his needs, but by his desires. And I'm saying we have to accept the fact that what we have been doing is insane, because we have been doing the same thing over and over and over, and the results have not changed. We have been holding a whole lot of meetings and putting some very smart people at the podium, but we are not making a dent in the system.
Some would say mental self-stimulation. You're stimulating something, but nothing being produced.
Correct, correct. Correct. I mean, you're right. You're the smartest guy in the room, and what you're saying makes perfect sense. The only problem is that nobody hears this tree fall. You can't get anybody in this forest. And God knows everything we had, we've lost. The radio stations are gone. All avenues of discourse between that people of color had, black people specifically, like it is, and all gone. They're all running to the internet, and they're trying to reinvent the wheel without accepting the fact that the world has changed, that their adversaries have grown in their techniques and their ability to disseminate this illusion to the masses, and you got to add some magic to the spice if you want to, before you can cook a fish, you got to hook a fish. It's that simple, But that's my take on it. You were going to make a point before. Oh, I think we got another call. Do we have another call? You can put the call through.
Let's hear them.
Hello?
Hi, how you doing, brother?
How you doing?
All right. Good brother. You had made a good point about in regards to meetings and things like that. When it comes to the movements, Pan-Africanism, nationalism, so on and so forth. It's a beautiful thing. The concept and things like that is so beautiful. But then all of a sudden it's like these sidetracks. Then people want to get worried about who's marrying who.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the mulattoes. And, it's like so much division. And it makes me wonder, is their opponent going through this themselves? You know what I mean? I was looking off Facebook, and there was some brother and whatnot. He's like a notable black historian and whatnot. Supposedly married a white woman that called her like a queen of a Nubian. And it's like everybody just going so crazy over there. But there's so much more going on and whatnot. What are you worried about what this man is doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not going to stop the revolution or whatever the case may be. Just keep it moving and whatnot.
Right.
But it seems like it's so much, everybody's worried about who's keeping it real and whatnot. But we're being rolled over and whatnot. And it's been like that for years.
Right.
And it's just amazing and whatnot. So you hit the nail on the head about, the smartest one in the room and whatnot, but it's ineffective. You got to do something else.
That's exactly it. We are bringing in brilliant people, but they are not good at being effective in bringing people in. They just, if anything, they're recycling old ideas that we've heard 1,000 times before by far more dynamic people. Then
they alienate the ones they're trying to recruit.
Correct.
You know what I mean? They're worried. Oh, you're wearing Nikes or what? Did you know?
Right.
It's like,
right.
Really?
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's get the bigger picture in effect and whatnot.
He raised an
all of a
excellent
sudden
point.
now they're worrying about agents, but you brought me over here. You know
Right.
what I mean? I'm like, wow, and I'm like, it got to be something, man. I don't know.
Right.
We want to start talking about, John Brown and Nat Turner. They didn't wait for nobody. They just took the initiative and did their thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what it has to be and whatnot. This waiting for this Messiah and all of that. It's like they basically have all. Did you brothers know that when an army invades a country, before they go to the palace of the dictator, they hit the media?
Of course.
You know what I mean? Because it's that propaganda thing. You know how they'll fly over the enemy lines and drop pamphlets
And drop
things
pamphlets.
Like
Right.
Yeah.
Drop pamphlets.
People don't understand that's
Right.
what's going on over here.
Right. We got
know
a
what I
couple of
mean?
calls. We're running out of time.
All right, brother. Okay.
I want to thank you for calling. Keep
Thank you
calling
very
because
much.
you keep bringing up stuff I forget. If you can put one of the calls through, that's why I love my callers because they bring me back to reality. But if we have a
Excellent
call,
thing.
you can put the call through.
Hello?
Hi, caller. Turn it up just a little bit.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you, caller.
Sir, my question where in God's name are the black and Latino?
Just a moment. Could you turn up the volume a little bit so I can hear him a little better?
Yeah, my volume is all the way down.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about in my control room.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, sister.
Go on. We can hear you. I just got to be real
Okay.
quiet.
Where are the black and the Latino entertainers? People like Oprah, people on my side who are Latino, Puerto Riqueño, who have made it to the top. Where is their part in this movement to help not only our people, by doing that they're helping themselves, they're inspiring a country, a movement. Where are they today?
Good question.
So I was hoping, now, brother, I must say, and I agree with you to an extent. So Oprah's credit, she did put over 200 black men through college. I'll give Oprah that, brother. She actually put.
Let's get to another call, but that's an excellent
No, we
question.
wrote an excellent point, but Oprah, like I said, a lot of people.
But Oprah is one person,
Right,
and I think the point he's making is more
right, the masses.
No,
I agree.
Right.
I get on this too, but I always say that there's no reason for any.
Caller, did you say something? Yeah, you can put another call because we're running out of time. We got about like 5 or 6 minutes left. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, what up, Nat Wood?
What's up?
Give a shout out to you. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy holidays to you, brother. Thank you.
And I want to elaborate on the last call. What he said was prophetic. My Latino brother, he's absolutely right. Well, they're going to pay all these people, Oprah, Kanye West, and all these people. They're going to pay with their souls. So we don't need them. We don't need them at all. There was nothing they ever had that we need. All we need is the Netcher, the Meta-Netcher, and the Netcheru. That's what we need. And we need our spirituality. Like you said earlier, we need to mix some magic. You're right, Nat Wood. We need to use our own traditional things. And my question to you is, what do you think about this new commissioner? And
he was here nearly 20 years ago when I was in high school. William Bratton.
He ain't all that new, but
Well,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
he pulled the book up, Your Police, this racist white book. Not one black person in the book, all these white men, these little cartoons. I mean, if this is what de Blasio is going, I'm not going to get frustrated these next 4 years or 8 years. I'm going to totally disconnect myself from the whole political realm. I'm going to be totally watching it. But as far as getting all upset like I did with Doomberg, I'm not going through that again.
Right.
They are going to pay.
Right.
We have ancestors on our side. We need to realize that. Just like the brother said earlier, it's easy for them to kill us and it's easy for us to kill us. But these folks are going to pay with their souls, and we are protected, and we have the answers. They lie within us. Hotep, reinstate automatics. Be well.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Hotep, there, brother.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that a revolutionary, a civil rights leader that is thought to be the most benign of American civil rights leader, that is Dr. Martin Luther King, said himself that no political system can give you your freedom. That is incumbent upon black people in this country to take control of their own destiny. That no politician, and that wasn't Malcolm saying this. This was Martin saying this stuff.
That's right. It was 1966, Martin Luther King.
Right.
He came out against the war.
Yeah. And I do think it is futile to get mad at people who have picked the other side. It is incumbent upon us. Which is why you don't see a lot of the old heads on my show, but you do see people like you and Roy, and we're going to do a thing with Autumn Ashanti, and we're bringing in young people with new ideas, bold ideas, people who are multi-talented, certainly Autumn is multi-talented. We're going to do we're
Yes.
going to do a thing on Autumn. We're going to do it in the field and show it all over this place. You know, but we're talking about a young woman who is going to graduate college when she's 17.
That's right.
Going to study medicine.
Medicine, yes. She's not playing. She's not playing.
Physically, she's awesome. Physically, she's
Oh,
awesome.
yes,
She's
she is.
boxing.
She's a bad woman.
She's a bad woman. So you have a young lady who was educated within the system, the black system itself. You can't attribute her success to the public school system. She was homeschooled by her father.
That's right.
A black man, a bold black man.
Single at that. At the
A single black man,
father.
a single
Yes.
black father homeschooled his daughter. His daughter is now operating at genius level.
And she acts into, not just interject, remember she was accepted into a 4-year school. She was, or before they reneged.
That is correct.
She's at a 2-year school.
That is correct. That is correct.
She was at a 2-year school, but she was accepted at University of Connecticut, I believe, UConn.
Right.
And they reneged,
right.
but we have to keep in mind.
And she's not just talk radio. She's not just some snore TV. She is the total package. She brings together art, culture, science, a sound body and a sound mind all in one package, and she is young, and she is black, and she is female. And this is the kind of new leadership that we have to develop. If we keep going back to the same old fart, saying the same old thing that Malcolm said, I don't need you to tell me what Malcolm said. I know what Malcolm said. You know. But if Malcolm were alive today, he wouldn't be saying the same things Malcolm said in 1965. You know, he'd be talking some 2013 stuff, 2014 stuff.
Well, Nat, even Elijah Muhammad, one time his ministers were asking him questions about things that he had taught them, and Elijah Muhammad said, well, don't ask me about them baby lessons.
Correct.
Correct. Question me on them baby lessons. He
Correct.
said that. I got you.
Correct. Because you wouldn't want to hear the stuff I was saying in 1965. You'd be like, what's wrong with this boy? This boy is strange. We got like a minute left, so I got to wrap this up. You're at Arise TV now.
Arise.
You got 30 seconds to tell us.
Yes, Arise.tv was started by a Nigerian brother, Dr. Nduko Obinna. We can be found at www.arise.tv. We are an international news network, 24-hour news network owned by a Nigerian millionaire, black Nigerian millionaire. Our headquarters is in Midtown, www.arise.tv.
And if you can't remember all them W's and all them dots, just remember how to spell Arise, A-R-I-S-E TV. Pop that in your search engine and you should get it. We'll see you next year. We're going to take off New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. So we'll see you next year, the first week in January. Thank you for joining us. And peace. We're out of here. Happy holidays to everybody. Hotel.
Thank you, dear brother.
Oh, thank you, brother. Ah, excellent.
Went by quick, family.